Our first season back in the Swedish Premier Division ended off being pretty successful, finishing second place, just 3 points off potentially winning the league. It means in Season 3, we kind of want to try and do the same thing. On the 1st of February, the transfer window has opened and we have already done a lot of business. And this is some business that you should all be doing around Season 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, depending on when their youth intakes come in. So far, we have signed 8 players from 2 different sides. We've signed 9 players in total, and we have about 4 or 5 more players coming in, and they've all come from Spanish teams in the Spanish under-19s divisions. This is, I'm assuming, Atletico Madrid, Madrileño, maybe? It's basically their kind of under-19s team, I believe. We've also signed a bunch of players from AD Huracan, which again is another under-19s side. And they're not quite here yet, but we've also picked up a whole bunch of players from CF Dam as well, who, like you can probably guess, it's a Spanish under-19 side. And what's even better, we've paid £31,000 for all of them. In fact, we paid £31,000 for this man, Jose Luis Peinado might be his name. He is the most expensive. In fact, he's the only player that has cost us money throughout this entire transfer window so far. 16-year-old attacking midfielder. Definitely one for the future. Inigo Gutierrez has signed from the Atletico Madrid under-19 side on a free transfer at 17 years of age. Right back. Looks very, very good at the moment. Arguably, probably more of a centre-back. Juan Davis is a goalkeeper who has come from Atletico Madrid as well. 17 years of age. He's got under-19s caps as well already for Spain. I believe he is part Equatorial Guinean. There you are. He's going to be, hopefully, or I say hopefully, maybe our number 1 goalkeeper, but I'm pretty sure we might have brought in about 3 of them. Juan Francisco is probably one of the better players to join the club so far. 17 years of age, striker and winger. Currently, he's looking likely to be going out on loan to another team over in Sweden. A lot of these players will be playing probably in the 2nd or 3rd tiers of Swedish football for a couple of years, with the exception of a couple. Amish Pineda is next up, 17 years of age. They're all 17. They're 16, 17 or 18, I believe. Right winger, signed from Huracan on a free transfer. Nelson Gonzalez Martinez is another goalkeeper, this time signed from Huracan as well. He, I think, is probably better than the other one. I'm kind of hoping Nelson Gonzalez might get some game time soon, but our number 1 goalkeeper is kind of miles better than him. Antonio Mbar is an Equatorial Guinean right winger and maybe right back. I'd be probably a right winger. He can't defend. He literally can't defend, but he's a natural right back. He's a right winger. He's come in from AD Huracan. And so has Iram, who is a 16-year-old Spanish attacking midfielder and winger on the right-hand side. I'm not too convinced about Iram, but I basically brought in literally every single player that came through the Huracan youth intake and the Atletico Madrid youth intake and also the CF Dam intake. We have also brought in a Tunisian international, also on a free transfer. It is Elias Bouzain might be his name. He is joined on a free transfer from Degerfors, might be their name, from a fellow Swedish side by the looks of it. I just think he's a good player, and he's actually 3.5 star current ability, and I think we did need to strengthen that right back position. We have lost some players as well on free transfers. Johan Svensson has left the club, as has Albert Modig, and probably a player that maybe shouldn't have left the club because I think there's still a little bit about him and he's only 21. It's Amin Al-Hamawi, an Iraqi international with 6 international goals. He has moved over to Oesters on a free transfer as well. Don't forget, we've also lost at the end of last season. Mayura has retired from football, so has Danny Rose. He's also retired, and we have released Dennis Olsen on a free transfer. If you have a look at our squad right now and talk by age, we are certainly going to be losing Falcao at the end of the season. I don't think he said that he's going to be retiring, but he's definitely going to retire at the end of this year. So we've got maybe 1 year left. We've also got Britt Assombalonga, who is only 32, so you'd think there's a plenty more football left to go, but he is out for 5 to 9 months, and I feel like he is going to call it a day as well at some point this season. So with all those transfers that we've done so far, you might think that we don't have much money left to spend, but in fact, we've got about £12,000 a week wage budget to spend. We've got £600,000 as well to spend if we really want to. We're not going to. I am going to be trying to do the facilities and things like that, but I think financially right now, we've only got 1.8 million in the bank. I don't think they're going to agree to anything because we are basically, if you look at the projection, we're going to be in debt within a year. In fact, it's almost exactly a year. So that's November, December, January, February, we'll have £64,000. And then in March, we'll be on minus 38 grand. So yeah, they're not going to do any big spending because basically we are projected to just lose money ridiculously. And that's kind of fine. We basically need to spend a few more seasons building up our team, building up our finances, and arguably doing well in Europe. which is going to be weird because where our season runs from March to about November time, we start our European adventure in about July, August, and potentially finish it in around May of the following season. It's going to be weird. I'm not even sure how we're going to do this from a video perspective, but we're going to have to try. You can also see there, we are in the Swedish Cup, because that's another thing that happens partly last season, and now the next bit happens this season. We've got Sirius, we've got Östersund, and we've got Stocksund in our group. We need to basically not lose a game. The moment you lose a game, you're out of the Swedish Cup. So as long as we win all 3 games, or win 2 and draw 1, we'll be fine. Right, lots of admin there at the start of this season. Let's jump forward then to the end of the transfer window to see if we have done any more business. And by if we have, we have. We've literally got about 4 players lined up ready to join. Okay, turns out the players that are joining aren't joining yet because they're not quite old enough. I think they might join in like the summer transfer window. We have got rid of some players on permanent deals. Anton Nilsson first up, moving over to Orgreit, might be their name. Daichi Tagami has also left the club, signing for us a couple of seasons ago, or maybe even just last season. He's gone back over to Japan for a little bit of money, not a lot, £16,000. We have brought in 3 new faces as well, not including the ones that are going to be joining in the summer. We have got Jashawn Anglin, a Jamaican international defensive midfielder. He is signed from Harbour View over in Jamaica. Had a small spell in, I was going to say the MLS. It's not. It's the USSLC Atlantic, whatever that is, playing for Miami FC. We brought him in for £4,000. We've also signed Federico Ilanes, who is an Argentine defensive midfielder, signed on a free transfer. He has come in from, technically, from Argentina. We've got some scouts that know a lot of stuff about South America, but not Brazil or Argentina. They know like Chile and Peru, and I don't know why, but Ilanes was one of those players that came through the scouting network, and I went, he's very good. He's also on a free. And we also know a lot about AFC Wimbledon. I don't know why. I don't know whether that's a thing. Like, does Helsingborg have a connection with AFC Wimbledon? Do we have like a former AFC Wimbledon scout on our books? I don't know, but we have signed Ryan Johnson from AFC Wimbledon, a 28-year-old Northern Irish international with 21 caps, central defender. He has cost us a fair amount of money, £160,000, but I think he's probably one of our best players at the moment. I can't see him sticking around for too many seasons because I'm hoping we kind of outgrow him quicker than he outgrows us. But Ryan Johnson, I think it might be too much money, but I'm kind of okay with it because we are financially not in a terrible place. We're still under our wage budget by a fair distance. We've got £400,000 to spend as well. So it might be a silly transfer, but we've done it anyway. Something else to note as well, we have loaned out a whole bunch of players, and I'm expecting probably more will be moving on. So even some of the players that joined earlier on in the season, Francisco, Mba and Pineda, have all gone out on loan to hopefully get themselves some more first-team football and turn them into better footballers. Oh, and I mentioned earlier that Falcao probably will retire at the end of the season. He's decided he is retiring at the end of the season. If I have a look at his plans, where does it say? Plans to retire on the 13th of the 11th, 2025, so the end of this season. And Britt Assombalonga has also retired. I thought it was going to happen, and it certainly happened very, very quickly, so he has also left the club, as has Kara Mbodj, a player who I released on a free transfer. He technically was out of contract, but was still at the club, and I went, why are you here? You're 35 and you're not very good, so we've released him on a free transfer. So yeah, we've kind of trimmed down our squad. If we have a look at all transfers, we've brought in a fair amount of new faces as well. I'm kind of optimistic that I feel like we've improved our team. A team, by the way, that we are not locking in any players into the starting 11. If we do best 11, this is what they suspect is our best 11. Juan Francisco, they think, is our best striker, and he's out on loan to a Swedish First Division South side. He's our best. Maybe we're not as good as I think we are. If he's our best striker, he is our best striker. I'm concerned now. Right, I was hoping we might win the league this year. We might finish mid-table. Anyway, we're now going to jump forward to around the midway point of the season. The transfer window will be open as well, the summer transfer window, which means, if we have a look, 3 new players will be joining the club in July on the 7th. So we've got Julve, we've got Gumbau, and we've got Terentius, who are all going to be joining the club. Julve and Terentius, I think, are going to be very, very good players for us, but I will keep that a secret, what they look like, until they actually join the club. So let's jump forward to see how well we get on in the Swedish Premier Division. We've also been knocked out of the Swedish Cup, which I just ignore the fact that this happens. I forget, okay? We got through the group stages. We won twice and we drew, and then we got knocked out by BK Häcken after extra time, which is annoying. This competition takes place the entirety of the opening transfer window. So, what will happen, part 1 of the video will be before the Cup, part 2 will be after the Cup. We might win a full-on trophy, an FA Cup, in Sweden by part 2 of a video. Anyway, let's jump forward to part 3, which will be the halfway point. And a halfway point where we find ourselves sat 6th place in the table. Technically not halfway, we've still got a couple more games to go. 6th place, I think this kind of confirms my suspicions that maybe we got lucky last year, and this season we are probably a mid-table side. I didn't even check this. I should have probably checked this. They think we're going to finish 12th. They think we're going to finish 12th. I'm hoping we don't finish 12th. Hopefully we finish a lot higher than that. Anyway, the transfer window has opened and those 3 new players have joined the club. In order of the worst to the best, we have got Emili Gumbau might be his name. He is a right winger, signed from Dam on a free transfer because they're all on free transfers because the moment they turn 18, they get released from their contracts and we can pick them up. Gumbau has joined the club, as has Eloy Julva, who is 17 years of age, signed once again from Dam. I think he's quite good. He's probably on the verges of breaking into our starting 11, which is quite nice to see. Hopefully he's going to get a lot of game time off the bench. I have loan listed him in the hope that maybe somebody might come in and take him on loan for a season, get some more game time, but Julve is in. But the best one is Narcis Terences, who is an 18-year-old striker who's 6'5" and has 16 heading and 16 jumping reach. I feel like this is kind of Peter Crouch, right? He's got really good, has he got really good first touch? 12 first touch isn't terrible. Technique of 16, those pretty good. Decent strength, decent anticipation. I think this striker is one of those players that he's not necessarily going to be amazing, but he's going to do really well because he's just a big unit. He's 6'5", he's really strong, he's got good finishing, good heading. He's going to get a lot of goals for us, and I think he might technically be our best player up front. He is by a fair distance as well. Which means Radamel Falcao, who has been our number 1 striker for the start of the season, probably isn't going to be playing any more football for us, which means at the age of 39, he is probably going to retire with 7 goals this season, 244 goals in all competitions, or league competitions by the looks of it, in just under 500 appearances. Maybe he can get 7 more games for him, and then he'll let that lovely, nice little round 500 appearances. Obviously, transfer window is still open. We're under our wage budget. We've got money to spend. I don't know whether we're going to do too much. The thing we might end up doing is if somebody comes in for some players, we might need to do some replacing and things like that. But we will see how things go. We're going to jump forward to, I'm going to say it's around September time. So we're going to play a huge chunk of football. We've got our Europa Conference League qualifiers as well. So there's a lot going to happen between now and when we return. Right, where do we start? Let's start with the Europa Conference League, shall we? We have not qualified for the group stage. However, we did do we didn't do very well. We lost against Sturm Graz in literally the first qualifying round or second qualifying round that we were in. So, oh no, we did actually get past a couple of teams. That's good. So, we beat B36 from the Faroe Islands. Then going to the third qualifying round, we beat Brøndby from Denmark. I nearly said Norway. For some reason, I always think Brøndby's in Norway, and I don't know why. We beat them 8-6 on aggregate. And then in the fourth qualifying round, we do lose to Sturm Graz 6-5 on aggregate. We arguably should have gone through that. You'll see there, Terences as well has scored 8 goals in the Europa Conference League. He's getting some football. Swedish Cup, not that it really matters. We are in to the second round, which is literally the first round that we ever play. So yeah, that's a thing. And in the Swedish Premier Division, we have moved up to 4th place in the table. We are still a fair few points away from the top of the table, but just 3 points away from second place with a game in hand, which means, in theory, we could be moving into second place very, very soon. We've also done a small bit of transfer business. A few players have gone out on loan. One player has left on a permanent deal. Melvin Alkvist is that man. He's moved over to Degerfors? Degerfors on a permanent deal for a bit of money as well. About £15,000, but we have also brought in a Kenyan legend and former Helsingborg player, which I did not realise this was a thing until it said he's returned to the club. And that is Victor Wanyama. Victor Wanyama started his career at Helsingborg, didn't even know this was a thing, moved over to Belgium, moved to Celtic, moved to Southampton, moved to Spurs, moved to Montreal Impact, or now CF Montreal. And because he's been there, he's actually part Canadian now, which I don't know, is that a real thing? I don't know if that's a real thing, but he's part Canadian in this game, and we have brought him back to Sweden for a couple of years. I'm hoping to get 2 years out of him. He's still actually not a terrible player, and because we play defensive midfielders, he's going to play a lot of football. Speaking of playing a lot of football, Terence has been playing. I've actually locked him into the starting 11 just in case they want to play Falcao. He scored 9 goals in all competitions. 8 of them have come in the Europa Conference League and just 1 in the league, but he scored 9 goals. It's a good start. And since I've done that, Falcao literally is not getting any form of game time. I don't even think he's on the bench. Oh, he's been injured. Okay, that's fine, maybe, I guess. He may never play for us again, which is kind of sad. We have been given our youth candidates kind of preview, which actually happens in September, so maybe like within the next 30 days we should be getting this through. It's a good intake. This doesn't scream good to me. We've got C for central midfielders and everything else is E. I don't think this is a good intake, but we'll have to wait and see, which we'll see at the end of the season. Obviously, we are now going to jump forward to that point. There is a total of 9 league games left for us to play. We might be able to win the league. If we finish in the top 4, I believe top 4 should be good enough. It doesn't tell us. Oh, it does tell us. So, top 4 will be good enough to get us into European football. Maybe 4th, not so much. Swedish Cup might determine that, and Swedish Cup might also determine that. So, the winner of the Swedish Cup qualifies for the Europa League. I don't know whether that really makes too much of a difference. Anyway, we're going to jump forward to the end of the season. We're going to take a look at our youth intake. Take a look to see how well things have gone in the Swedish Premier Division. We should be fine in the Swedish Cup for now. 2nd place for a 2nd season in a row. 10 points behind BK Häcken. It's a fair old gap, isn't it, between 1st and 2nd place. We have literally matched the same amount of points that we got last season. Our goal difference has improved. We've won 1 less, but we've also lost 2 more as well. So it's okay. It's okay. I mean, we've lost 2 less, sorry. Not lost 2 more. I'm happy with this. We're in to the Europa Conference League, not the Europa League. But that could all depend on the Swedish Cup, which is a thing that happens next season. It's a confusion. If there are anyone who's watching this who is a fan of Swedish football, how does this work? Surely you just get so confused because your season ends but also doesn't end. They keep overlapping. I don't understand it. So yeah, we've managed to qualify for Europe for a 2nd successive season, and hopefully next time around we can get into the group stages of the Europa Conference League. In the Swedish Cup, we have beaten IF Karlstad, which means we'll go into the weird group stage that happens obviously next season. When it comes to our youth intake, we were told we were going to have a very good central midfielder. I don't think we've got one. A lot of these players are weirdly from all over the world as well. So we've got an Iraqi, we've got a Chilean, we've got a Kenyan, we've got Emir Kovac, who is the biggest one on the list. And by biggest, I mean most potential. He's only 5'7", so he's probably the smallest one on the list. He's maybe okay. He looks all right. I'm not convinced he's going to do anything for us. We've got Daniel Carlius, who looks rubbish. We've got Brian, who also looks rubbish. We've got Rasmus Larsen, who looks rubbish. Luis Toro, who looks rubbish. And we've got Abid Ali, who looks, guess what, rubbish. Bindelov, he looks okay. Bindelov doesn't look too bad. Is that just me? I don't know. And then we've got Fode Harb as well, who looks rubbish. It's not a good youth intake. We've got one player who might be good. And sure, we'll keep an eye on him. So at the end of the season then, Terence managed to finish on 13 goals after we locked him in for the season. Our top goal scorer is Wilhelm Loper. So the last 2 seasons, he's scored 15 goals. He's just been an absolute bagsman, getting loads and loads of goals. We've got Silver Rasmussen as well, picking up 14. Last year, I think he did all right. He got 8 goals last season, 14 this season. I mean, I'm pretty happy with where these goals are coming from. We've got Ilanes as a defensive midfielder scoring 12. We've got Kim Lundberg, who, by the way, is one of those youth intake players, those new gen players who came in season 1, which means his maximum ability is 130 or 129. No one will have any higher potential than 130 when you get the first youth intake for fake players. I feel like he might be up there. He's very, very good, but I can't see him getting too much better than what he currently is. Did Falcao get any more games? I feel like he didn't. He did not get any more games at all. He was a sub a few times, but didn't actually make it off the bench. So Radamel Falcao will be retiring at the end of this season 493 league appearances with 244 goals, 104 Colombia caps, only 36 goals, which seems a bit strange. Has he become a staff member? He has. He wants to be a manager, so we can't give him a job, and arguably he's not very good anyway. Just want to take a look at Victor Wanyama as well. So still 34 years of age. So next season when his contract expires, which will probably be his last for us, even if he wants to carry on playing, I'm kind of okay with that, considering the lure of a higher profile league. I don't think sorry, Victor, I don't think anyone in the Premier League is going to want you at the age of 34, 35. It's just not going to happen. He's done okay for us, I think. I mean, we're not expecting him to set the world on fire. No goals at all. A couple of assists in the Swedish Cup. And I say he's done okay. He's done absolutely awful, hasn't he? In the Swedish Premier Division, he's got an average rating of a 6.56. That's not very good at all. Maybe we need to look at buying in players that aren't there for their name, like your Falcaos and your Wanyamas. Maybe we need to buy players who are good at football. Who'd have thought that might actually work? So that is going to do it then for Season 3 with Helsingborg. We are once again in Europe next season. We need to try and get out of the group stage. But if we do that, that will then be into Season 5, technically, when we're in the group stage. It's weird. I don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, but it's confusing. And I'm sure you're all equally as confused as me. That's going to do it for this one. I will see you next time.